Hey, everybody, it is Scott Steen with winnersandwhiners.com coming to you with the special NFL edition of Today in Sports Betting. Hello, Scott. It is Super Wild Card Weekend. Are you stoked?
Kind of have to be. I know that we have an extra game for the wild card weekend, so hopefully it turns into a good one. Some of these spreads are, suggestive that the games won't be that competitive, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we really will. You know, this is traditionally, this has been my favorite weekend of sports, basically. My second favorite weekend. I think the Final Four weekend going into the opening day of baseball season is a pretty good one as well. But this is a wild card weekend is always one of my favorites, just because it's NFL, it's playoffs, and we get an extra game. What's not to love, brother? That is just I'm just so stoked here. So we're going to break it into two different videos. We're going to take a look at the Saturday games and the Sunday games, and let's start with the Saturday game, Scott. We're going to start off with a game that, frankly, I wish was later in the weekend, because I think it's going to be one of the better ones. It's the Colts and Bills. Bills are currently 6-point favorites. A little juice to the Bills there at -116 at BetOnline. 51 is the total, Scott. Bills, one of the hottest teams in professional football right now. Can the Colts slow them down at all?
Well, based on how the Colts defense has played over the last half of the season, I'm going to go no, because the Colts defense, which used to be very good, fringe top 5 in most categories, has kind of fallen off a cliff in recent weeks. I know that they keep winning, which is all that matters, but it's going to be in Buffalo. Buffalo's going to have some fans in limited capacity, which I think will provide a bit of a spark for Buffalo.
If you've ever been to Buffalo, you know there are many fans there that do have limited capacity.
Those poor innocent tables. That's all I'm going to say. But looking at the matchup here, I know Buffalo is going to be everybody's hot pick to make a potential run, potentially overthrow Kansas City.
Easy.
I didn't say that. I'm just talking. People are talking.
People are saying.
I didn't say anything. I'm saying what people are saying.
You know what? There's no team in the NFL playing better football than Buffalo right now.
Right now, that is definitely true. Green Bay, maybe.
Perhaps. That's the only other team you could compare them to.
Correct. I know Indy has definitely a formula on how they could beat Buffalo. It involves running the ball a ton with Jonathan Taylor against Buffalo's average to below average rush defense. But looking at this matchup here, it's at around 6.5. I know you said 6, but it was juice, so it's mostly 6.5. Truth is, I'm probably just going to take the over. I know that you have seen some under money coming in from 52 to 51. Buffalo's offense has been ridiculous. Indianapolis's offense is pretty good as well. I'm going to lean to the over, because if the Bills drop 35, would you be surprised? Probably not. So I'll take the over.
All right, I do have a premium on the side, but I like the over as well quite a bit. I will say it was hard for me to decide which one to put the premium play on. I think the most surprising part about that Colts team, well, a couple of things you mentioned both of them, but first is the absolute way their defense has fallen off the cliff. They were number one unit in the NFL for much of the first half of the season, and they haven't been for the second half. And the other part of that is the emergence of Jonathan Taylor, putting up 741 yards in his last 6 games, averaging 6.2 yards per carry. Had a monster game against the Jags. Of course, I think you could run for 100 against the Jags. But the over is 5-2-1 in the last 8 for the Bills, with teams with winning records. And the Colts play teams with winning records, cash 5 straight. That's a trend right there, my friend. I'm not always a slave to the trends, but I think that's a pretty good one. I do like the over 51. Watch that number continue to fall. That's fine with me. I don't see this as going to be a defensive struggle.
Yeah, I agree. I think the one thing you have to worry about is Rivers and cold weather, but I think that could actually help the over, because some turnovers might give you some short fields.
Right.
But yeah, I gotta like the over here, because I do think that both offenses, especially with Frank Reich controlling everything with the Colts, I gotta have faith in the offensive minds in the coaching staffs of both these teams. So I like the over.
Rams Seahawks. Seahawks -3 42 is the total right there.
Well, I have a play today from a couple days ago on the total. So I don't know if you want me to talk about it or just talk about the side, whatever.
If you'd like, I've got a premium on the total, so one of us probably should talk about it.
Yeah, I can talk about it. It's fine. First of all, I talked about this with you before we went on air. I know Goff has taken some practice reps so far during the week. You think it's going to be Goff behind center?
I do. Yeah, I think Goff's going to go.
Okay.
Everything that I've read seems to indicate he's trending towards going.
Sounds that way. I'm not fully sure about that, but once again, it's going to be kept under wraps. You know that they're not going to announce it before the game just to force Seattle to prepare for both quarterbacks.
Right.
The classic Belichick cliched scouting move or whatever you want to call it in the NFL, which has been done for an eternity. The question you have to ask is, with Goff behind center in comparison to Wolford, Goff with a brand new thumb, basically, do you think it matters? And the answer is, I still think Los Angeles' offense is going to be awful, regardless of who's behind center. I think it might look a little bit more, I'd say, I don't want to say normal with Goff, but a little bit, I don't know, more fluid with Goff, I guess is the word I'd use. But they were the opposite of fluid last week, I'll tell you that much, with Wolford against Arizona. So that's not really saying much. I like the under. You look at both these teams, they've been under machines lately. Seattle, I know that Russell Wilson's been very good, hasn't been as good in the second half, and the offensive line is completely fallen apart. So I think the Rams should be able to get to Wilson probably even 5 times in this game. It really wouldn't surprise me. Meanwhile, Goff isn't very good. I think he'll struggle in Seattle, especially now that he isn't at 100%, assuming he's even able to go. And they played twice already this season. Neither game got into the 40s. So for that reason, I like the under here. I know it's a low total. It's the lowest total from any game this weekend. I think it's low for a reason. I'll take the under. I see 2017, something like that, so I like the under.
I think that's very possible. Like I said, these two teams have already played twice this season. That tends to give everybody some familiarity. There's a lot less surprises, a lot less trick plays that are probably going to work. In the first 2 games, neither one of them. I don't think they got to the 40, did they?
No, they haven't gone to more than 39.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 39 and 29 were the 2 totals earlier this season. So, yeah, I just don't know where the offense is going to come from here.
The only way I feel like you'll lose is if Wilson goes nuts and throws about 4 touchdowns.
And it certainly could happen. I like this offensive unit of the Seahawks. They're playing better defense this season over the last half of the season. They're the anti-Indianapolis, and I think there's just going to be too much offense on the side of the Seahawks. I don't think the Rams are going to bring much to the table. I like the Seahawks -3 there as well.
I just find it very fascinating that Seattle's had the same offensive line issues for about 9 years, and they haven't addressed it once.
And they are going to be without Mike Iupati, so that's
same issue every single damn year with this team. They can't block anybody, and yet nobody in the front office ever drafts an offensive lineman in the first round or even signs an offensive lineman. It's really just they tried to shuffle things around, but I mean like a big, high-profile offensive lineman. They just don't do it. I know Iupati used to be
right
back in the day, but of course that was a while ago. Yeah.
I mean, you do have to give him some credit for at least trying with him. I mean,
no, of course. I'm going to give him props. I'm just saying that at some point you got to figure out the offensive line. It's been what? I feel like it has been like 8 years. Like even with the Legion of Boom, they had offensive line issues.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's kind of crazy. I think you'd agree with that. That's I don't understand that.
Yeah, there's just nobody on that offensive line, man. It's
not very good. And I have to face Aaron Donald and company that sacked them 5 times in the last meeting. Yeah, it's not going to be fun.
Yeah, you're right. All right, so now the primetime game, Scott, and we can argue about whether this game ought to be in prime time or not, because to me, I'd rather see, I think either one of the other 2 games are going to be better games, but at least from a talent standpoint, although this could be a good game. It's the Tampa Bay Buccaneers traveling to Washington to take on the Washington football team, assuming Washington will be okay by then. I guess it will be. Tampa Bay road favorite here, Scott, of 8 points. 43 is the number. Tommy Terrific. Is he still that terrific, Scott?
The truth is that his numbers have been impressive this year. If you go look at everything from a grand scope, he had 40-plus touchdown passes. He was absolutely mauling teams over the last month. The only issue is, you look at the defenses he's faced, not really anybody worth writing home about. You're going through Tampa and how they've looked ever since they lost to the Chiefs in that close game, even though it wasn't really that close because Kansas City was up a ton early, took their foot off the gas, and Brady ended up with about 400 yards of just garbage time. They beat Minnesota in a game they looked awful, but Dan Bailey missed about 75 kicks. They won that game. Then they beat Atlanta, they beat Detroit, and they beat Atlanta. I know Atlanta's defense was playing better over the course of the last couple of months, I guess, but I still don't think that defense is very good. Detroit's defense is useless, so I'm not going to factor that in. The only issue I have with Brady is that he's been really, really awful against good teams and good defenses in particular. And Washington's defensive line might be the best defensive line in all of football. So the question you have to ask is can Tampa protect Brady? The truth is, even if they can't, I don't know if it matters because Washington's offense with a very, very injured Alex Smith, so injured that Rivera's talking about splitting touches behind center between Smith and Heineke.
Yeah.
That's not a good sign. For me, truth is, I think I'll just take the under. Because I think that if Washington's going to keep this game close, they need to hold Tampa to like 24 points.
Yeah, they're going to have to run the ball. They're going to have to control the clock. They're going to have to count on Gibson to get it.
Am I nuts for thinking Washington might cover?
Oh no, I don't. I don't think so at all.
I just feel like everybody on the public is just slamming Tampa, and I feel like it's a perfect spot for the public to get destroyed. But we'll see. I'll lean to the under because I think there's multiple paths to win. If Tampa scores 30 points, there's a good chance Washington might not get to 15.
Yeah.
So I'll take the under.
That is a good Tampa Bay defense as well. We talk a lot about Brady when it comes to this team, but their defense has really kind of kept them in this.
It's been streaky, but it's shown flashes, and I don't think Washington's offense is really dynamic whatsoever. So I think that definitely helps. I know Devin White's not going to be playing, which is a big loss for Tampa because he's been a very good linebacker for them this season. I also don't know if Mike Evans is going to play because he ended up hurting his knee. So we'll see what happens there offensively. But going through everything here, Washington with an injured quarterback, with a defense that's elite, and Tampa potentially being without its number one receiver, and just everything that we've talked about here, I think Tampa could win this game, but I'm not taking the over in this game. I'll tell you that much. I'll take the over.
Mark the time here because Mike Evans is going to play.
I think he should. I'm just saying it's not official at the time.
But Mike Evans, I think, was born on the injured list.
That's fair.
I'm not.
Mike Evans, in terms of injury list regularity, is the Anthony Davis of the NFL.
Yeah, he absolutely is. I think. I think that.
I still like the under.
Under is absolutely the play there. It is the 43. That doesn't scare me. That's I'm old enough to remember when 43 to 45 was pretty much the numbers that you saw in the NFL. As far
I see some 44s and a half. So what do you have at bet on the line over there?
Let me see what that's going down to. Yeah, I said 43. It has gone up to 44 and a half. So there's over money coming in. I'd written this down yesterday. So that's a fairly recent development. 44.
I probably waited out, but because people I think might just bet the over on Brady going for 400 yards, or I like the under.
It's the playoffs, Scott. It's Square City.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, that the Bills and the Buccaneers will be on every single teaser card.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so yeah, I've got I'm on the under there as well. I think that's I'm really torn about this Tampa Bay team because here's a fun fact about Brady. No one in the NFL had a better completion rate on passes thrown over 20 yards in the last half of the season. Tom Brady.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things you hear about. Brady can't throw the deep ball, blah, 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 blah. Well, it turned out that's a little prematurely incorrect.
Definitely true. But just a quick question, just so we can talk about it, because I know I mentioned it briefly before. When we're talking about Brady's numbers, Atlanta this season was 4-12. They have a top 10 pick in the draft. It might actually be top 5, now that I think about it. But anyway, they have a 4-12 record, and Tampa played them twice within the last 3 games.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, played the Lions, and the Lions are 5-11.
Dreadful team.
Just saying, because you can talk about how Brady's found this resurgence and he's been great lately. Please acknowledge he's also had a very favorable schedule.
Yeah, and he was horrific against the Chiefs or before they took their foot off the gas.
Correct.
Had a very, very bad first half.
And he was awful in the first half against Atlanta in the first meeting as well.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just saying that Brady might have looked good from a numbers perspective. He really did not look that sharp for the course of several games in the back half before absolutely torching the Lions and the Falcons in the second half of the first meeting all the way through to the fourth quarter of the last meeting.
Yeah, he did play a real defense in the Rams, and
that didn't go too well.
No, he put up 209 yards passing and 42 yards rushing.
He also had a couple turnovers in there.
Yeah, a couple of bad turns. They ended up losing that one. So, yeah, I'll be the first to admit that Brady has been taking advantage of light competition.
I'm just throwing it out there because a lot of people are going to say, well, I can't take the under because Brady's going to go nuts. And my argument is, are you sure Brady's actually going to go nuts?
Oh, yeah, no. Well,
I think Brady will play fine. But at the end of the day, I'm not expecting him to go for 350 and 4 touchdowns. Like, I just don't see that happening.
If you talk about Brady going nuts, like on the sideline, like cussing and randomly yelling at teammates.
That'll probably happen at some point.
No chance. There's no way he won't go nuts in this one.
Nope.
All right. So there's day one, Scott. Any final thoughts on the Saturday card?
Not really. I'll just ask you a quick question. Out of all 3 of these games, even though one of them is kind of unfair, which one do you smell a little upset brewing? I know the Rams-Seahawks one is a cop-out. I'm just asking.
A winner outright by the underdog?
Yeah.
Yeah, it got to be the Rams. I think that's the only. I think that's the only possibility there.
I think the Colts might be live, but we'll see.
Okay. All right. Well,
we'll see. I'm not really sure. I expect the favorites to win, but figured it's worth asking because some people who listen really just want to hear the dog value shots.
You want to know which one I'd be delighted by the most?
Washington.
Absolutely.
That would just be funny.
Oh my goodness, I would. And I will remind you, Scott, the last time we saw a sub 500 team in the playoffs, you know what happened?
They won.
They won their first round. That's right. Do you know who it was?
Was that the Beastquake game?
Yeah, that's exactly what it was. The 7-9 Seattle team took care of business in the first round. So it's not unprecedented. It's going to be a home game for Washington. I don't think they don't have fans in the stands in Washington, do they?
No.
They're shut down there on the East Coast. I was pretty much all the way. It's been the Wild West here, buddy. We put 16, 18,000 in the stadium every time. We don't care.
Yep.
Apparently it's not a thing here. So
I heard rumors that the Lombardi Trophy cures COVID. So we'll see.
Well, for us, it kicked it off. That was about the last good thing that happened here in KC, and then everything went downhill from there. So should be a fun, entertaining day. We'll see what happens. And, as always, if you're looking for more information on these games, man, there's no better place than Winners and Whiners right now. There's some good articles about these games. Make sure you stop by and check those out. And, let us know what you're playing in the comment section. We're kind of curious to see what you guys are on today. Of course, if you're digging what we're doing, having a little fun, we'd appreciate it if you give us the like and the subscribe. I don't think that's too much to ask. Do you, Scott? We don't ask much.
I heard it's free.
Yeah, absolutely free. Always free all the time. So, do that for us. And stick around because we're going to be back on the next video to talk about the NFL. You guys take care. We'll see you, like a good 2 minutes now on to the next episode of Today in Sports Betting. Take care, everybody.